This is the Fujian, China's most ambitious aircraft carrier to date, hailed as the next generation of naval warfare. And this is the U.S. Gerald R. Ford, the crown jewel of the United States Navy, representing over a century of aircraft carrier dominance. At first glance, they may look eerily similar, but beneath the surface lies a world of technological gaps, strategic advantages, and one fatal flaw that could determine the outcome of any future conflict between the two superpowers. China has a long history of copying U.S. military technology. From fighter jets like the F-35 to the MV-22 Osprey, from guided missile systems to naval vessels, China's defense industry has been accused of reverse engineering American military assets time and time again. But what happens when they try to copy the most advanced aircraft carrier in history? Can China truly replicate the power and efficiency of the U.S. Gerald R. Ford? Or is the Fujian merely an imitation, one that lacks the battle-tested prowess of its American counterpart? To understand the gravity of this situation, we need to go way back, to the dawn of aircraft carrier warfare. The United States pioneered modern carrier operations during World War II, leveraging the strategic advantages of mobile air bases at sea. The U.S. Langley, commissioned in 1922, was the U.S. Navy's first aircraft carrier, setting the stage for a century of dominance in naval aviation. Over the decades, America refined carrier design, integrating technologies like steam catapults, nuclear propulsion, and electronic warfare systems to create the most formidable naval fleet in history. Meanwhile, China remained a late entrant to the aircraft carrier game. It wasn't until the 1990s that Beijing even considered building an aircraft carrier fleet. Their first step, purchasing the defunct Soviet carrier Varyag from Ukraine in 1998. After over a decade of retrofitting and testing, China commissioned its first aircraft carrier, the Liaoning, in 2012. But despite its sleek exterior, the Liaoning was in essence a Cold War-era relic, outdated, underpowered, and outclassed by even the older U.S. carriers. Fast forward to today, and China has taken a massive leap forward with the Fujian, their most advanced aircraft carrier yet. Commissioned in 2022 and currently undergoing sea trials, the Fujian is designed to challenge the might of the U.S. Navy. But how does it truly compare to the U.S. Gerald R. Ford, America's most powerful warship to date? At first glance, the Fujian and the Ford appear similar in size and structure. The Ford measures 333 meters in length with a beam of 78 meters. The Fujian, slightly smaller, stands at 316 meters long with a 76-meter beam. While these differences seem negligible, it's what lies beneath the deck that sets them apart. The Ford has a full combat load displacement of over 100,000 tons, while the Fujian comes in at around 80,000 tons. But what about firepower? The U.S. Gerald R. Ford is armed to the teeth with an array of advanced defensive systems. 2 Sea Sparrow launchers, 2 rolling airframe missile launchers, 3 20mm phalanx close-in weapon systems, and multiple 25mm Bushmaster chain guns create an ironclad defense against incoming threats. Not to mention, the Ford boasts one of the most sophisticated electronic warfare suites ever installed on a warship. The Fujian, on the other hand, has an unknown but estimated arsenal of 3 18-cell HQ-10 missile launchers, comparable to the U.S. Navy's rolling airframe missiles, but with less range and combat experience. Additionally, China has installed 2 RBU-6000 anti-submarine rocket launchers, an outdated Soviet-era system that pales in comparison to modern Western sonar and torpedo defense capabilities. Aircraft carriers aren't just about defenses, they are floating air bases capable of launching devastating attacks. The U.S. Gerald R. Ford can carry more than 70 advanced aircraft, including F-35 Sea Lightning O stealth fighters, A-18 Super Hornets, EA-18G Growlers for electronic warfare, and M-60R Seahawk helicopters for anti-submarine warfare. The Fujian, in comparison, is expected to carry around 40 aircraft, primarily J-15 fighters, an outdated knockoff of Russia's Su-33. China has experimented with airborne early warning aircraft like the KJ-600, but at the moment, it lacks the operational capabilities of the U.S. Navy's E-2D Hawkeye. One of the biggest leaps China attempted with the Fujian was the implementation of an electromagnetic aircraft launch system, EMALS, similar to the Ford. This system, if functional, would allow for smoother aircraft launches compared to traditional steam catapults. However, EMALS requires immense energy, something the Ford has in abundance thanks to its nuclear reactors. The Fujian, on the other hand, runs on conventional boilers, raising serious doubts about whether it can generate enough power to operate EMALS efficiently. And this brings us to the single biggest weakness of the Fujian, its propulsion system. Unlike the US Gerald R. Ford, which is powered by two state-of-the-art nuclear reactors capable of running for decades without refueling, the Fujian relies on traditional fuel-powered boilers. This means that while the Ford can stay at sea indefinitely, limited only by food and ammunition resupplies, the Fujian must regularly return to port for refueling. In a prolonged conflict, this could be a catastrophic disadvantage. Moreover, the US Navy has spent decades perfecting carrier battle group operations. Aircraft carriers do not operate alone. They are always escorted by a fleet of destroyers, cruisers, submarines, and logistics ships that provide missile defense, anti-submarine warfare, and replenishment capabilities. China, on the other hand, lacks this level of coordination and logistical support, which significantly hampers the Fujian's effectiveness in sustained military operations. The training and experience gap is another major factor. U.S. naval aviators undergo some of the most rigorous training programs in the world, with carrier-based operations refined through decades of combat experience in multiple conflicts. China, on the other hand, is still in the early stages of developing carrier-based tactics and lacks real-world combat experience in deploying aircraft carriers effectively. So, what does all of this mean? The Fujian is undeniably a step forward for China's naval ambitions, but it remains far from being a true match for the U.S. Gerald R. Ford. With superior aircraft, advanced electronic warfare systems, nuclear propulsion, and battle-tested technology, the Ford stands as the undisputed king of the seas. The Fujian may look like the Ford, but in a real-world conflict, only one of these carriers would emerge victorious. China's rise in military power is undeniable. But when it comes to aircraft carriers, experience, technology, and strategic foresight reign supreme. And as of today, the United States Navy still holds the crown. The question is, for how long?